the new Superman is a Saturday morning cartoon. This is going to be a more off-the-cuff style video than I've done before. I've got notes on my phone over there, just as prompts for me to say stuff. I would write a more in-depth script, but I feel like I'm really going to struggle to remember this movie in a couple days, so I don't know how much I'd be able to write down, because I like to go a bit deeper when it comes to film analysis. I like to look at a wide range of topics, but with this movie it's just gone in one side and like left at the other, and I've... Moving on, Superman is a Saturday morning cartoon. What do I mean by that? It feels like watching an episode of Super Friends from the 80s. That's how it feels. You will have a good time watching Superman, and that's okay. That's okay. I should rephrase. That would be okay. That would be okay if this film wasn't also trying to be about really serious issues in the world right now. Whether that's Israel versus Palestine, Russia versus Ukraine, or even the Sikh farmers in India who are under tyranny of the Indian government. Like, there's a lot of bad things in the world right now, and this movie is using those things. Well, it's trying to commentate on those things, you know, because the message of the movie is about kindness and being kind to one another. But the way it's handled still feels very much like a cartoon, because this stand-in for Palestine in the movie, we never learn anything about the people who live there, other than there's another country invading them. We don't know anything about those people. They're merely used as a backdrop for the film, and I think it really trivializes the real world genocide that's happening at the moment. At the end of the day, these kids who are getting bombed every day in this film are used as props just to call out for help, just to beg their white savior to save them, you know, to fix everything. And I think that's a really irresponsible use of a real world tragedy, really, because at the end of the day, probably already said it at the end of the day, I don't know, we'll find out when I watch this back. Real world tragedy, right? Because all of it comes down to the one-dimensional bad guy in the movie, and that's it, really. This conflict's been going on for like 100 years, right? And we're all gonna like boil it down just to being about this bald freak. Like, come on, man. Who's it help? Who does this help? There's a Zionist in a key role in this film. So do the people behind the movie actually give a shit? Like, or is it just so people on Twitter can be like, let's go Superman. Let's talk about Lex Luthor. Let's talk about Lex Luthor in this movie. Lex Luthor and his cohort. I think, despite Nicholas Holt's amazing performance, his beautiful performance, I can't really talk about Lex in depth in this film because there is no depth to him. Every single line that Lex Luthor speaks in the movie is a variation on, I'm evil and I am the bad guy, and Superman is the good guy of the movie, and I hate the good guy because I am the bad guy. That's Lex Luthor in this film, played amazingly by Nicholas Hoult, but there's nothing there on the script level. And it's a shame, because Nicholas Hoult, David Cornsweet, James Gunn, all of them massive fans of the show Smallville, which arguably best version of Lex Luthor on screen. You know every single reason for that guy going from Clark's best friend to the devil incarnate. This movie You know, when people say they want a pure evil villain, we want to go back to the pure evil bad guys, I don't think they mean we want Skeletor from He-Man. Like, ha ha ha, I'm so evil. I don't know if that's the direction we should be heading in if we want this genre, this superhero genre, to evolve, to keep going, you know. There's other villains in the movie, but all of them are subservient to Mr. Luthor. There's the engineer, who's a character from The Authority. I know nothing about The Authority. I still know nothing about The Authority, and I sure as hell know nothing about the engineer based on this movie, because they don't tell you anything about the engineer. She has one line towards the start of the movie where she's like, I sacrificed everything for this, right? You know, very emotional. She's very, very serious about killing Superman. Couldn't tell you why. I couldn't tell you why this woman, this promising young woman, would like sacrifice all of her humanity to become this robot thing to kill Superman. Like cardboard cutouts, man. Every character in this movie just feels like a prop. The worst offender, other than the trivialization of genocide, the worst offender of that has to be Ultraman. And eventually he's revealed to be an adaptation of Bizarro by the end of the movie. And at the start, I was kind of excited because Lex Luthor walks into the fortress and they're like, oh, how did he do it? Well, he had an evil Superman with him, right? And it's like, oh, what's gonna happen between this Superman and this Superman? How's it gonna go, right? But at the end of the day, we see that he's Superman. He's an evil Superman, and they just fight a bit, and then Superman just tosses him away. Get out of here, Bizarro. This ain't your movie. This isn't Superman vs. Bizarro the movie. We gotta save that for the sequel. If he comes back, that is. But like, come on, man. This movie, for most of its runtime, Superman is grappling with his heritage. He's like, oh, he's scared that the other people like him were like evil, you know? So when he's met with a one-to-one copy of himself, who's supposedly evil, like, how does he feel about that? What's it gonna do to him up in his head, right? Well, apparently it does nothing, because he doesn't care. There's nothing done there on the thematic level, and I think that's a really big missed opportunity to have this really emotional moment between them. I think it's a waste of a really cool comic book character, and I think it's a waste of all the build-up that's in this movie with that character. So I mentioned there about Krypton, well, Superman being afraid that the other Kryptonians were evil. And out of everything in the movie, that's what's sticking with me the most, because I think that's what really rubbed me the wrong way about it. Because when we meet Jor-El and Lara, or like the recorded message from them down to their little baby Kal-El, we're like, they're speaking in a dialect that sounds more Middle Eastern, you know. It has that sort of energy to it. And then the twist in the movie is the rest of their message to Kal-El is go to Earth and conquer and take women and force them to be a part of your harem. And it feels very much like American propaganda, where it's like the invading force is gonna come here, take away our jobs, our homes. They're gonna take away our women. It's really dodgy, especially in this movie that claims to care about what's going on in the Middle East at the moment. I think those two messages are sort of at odds with themselves. And like just on a personal level, so I'm Punjabi, and growing up I did experience people say you should go home, and like be like, I'd have like white kids come over and be like, oh, your religion says this, your religion's so I'm not religious now, but when I was a kid, right, this is the type of conversations these people would have with me, and they'd be like, your religion says you can do all these horrible things and you should be allowed to do all these horrible things, how dare you, and all this. And it's like, it's really weird to see that in a Superman movie, and it's weird to have Lex Luthor be right about that in your Superman movie. Like that really made me feel weird, especially because leading up to this movie I got more in touch with my roots, like finding out about like family history and things like that. Yeah, having heritage from like two sides of the world is that's part of what makes Superman relatable to me personally. So to see Superman like wearing that Kryptonian symbol on his chest, right, and rejecting where it comes from at the end of the movie, and it's just gross. It's just really gross. The whole idea comes from the show Smallville, right? That was the first place where it was like, oh, Kal-El was sent to conquer. But if you watch that show, one, Jor-El starts off as this unknowable force. You don't put a face to him. He's just this disembodied voice, right? So that plays into Clark's anxiety about where he comes from, and this fear, and it really works for like the story about a young man, right? And then, but whenever we put a face to Jor-El, right? There's an episode where Clark gets Jor-El's memories, Assassin's Creed style, right? And we learn that Jor-El isn't that different from Superman. Like, they went through very similar struggles. Same season later on, Clark gets his first memory. He remembers his first memory. Fucking kryptonite bullshit. But, he remembers his first ever memory. And he's a baby. He's being put into the pods. And he hears his mother's voice for the first time, Lara, and the episode ends with him being like, oh, I always thought, because of Jor-El, I thought all Kryptonians were bad, but Lara was so loving and like kind. And that's sort of what's missing from this movie, the nuance, right? As Smallville continues, he meets other Kryptonians, some are bad, some are good, but it's nuance. Kryptonians and humans are the same. They're the same. Like, there's some bad guys, there's some good guys, and that's just how it is. That's just how it is, because everybody's human at the end of the day, and Kryptonian human, blah 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 blah. But this movie takes a really weird stance on it, and I think Superman's last speech is very compelling to Lex Luthor, where he's like, I put one foot in front of the other, just like everyone else, and that's beautiful. That is a beautiful thing for Superman to say. But I wish we didn't have to condemn the immigrant side, I wish that the whole thesis of this movie wasn't Superman's one of the good ones, because frankly that's quite disgusting. I guess just to mention a couple other things. Superman, Lex Luthor, right? They get into their final confrontation. This is the moment. Everything's led to this moment. Superman has his speech. Lex is about to give his speech. Now, bear in mind, this is the first time in the movie that Lex doesn't have a filter on. No mask, no pretending, I'm one of the good guys, I'm a good guy, man, I'm just trying to help humanity. No, none of that. It's all fallen. There is no more mask on. Superman, earlier when they came to blows, Superman was put into a cage. No more of that. Equal footing, right? Good guy, your hero, your villain. It's happening, right? It's about to happen, right? We're about to get the coolest confrontation ever, and like a classic James Gunn maneuver, it's just ruined with a joke about Crypto. Now, I loved Crypto in this movie. I thought Crypto was fucking great. Like every Crypto scene was pretty good, except that last one where he just mauled Lex Luthor, and everyone laughs. I mean, everyone did laugh in the cinema, but like, why? Out of all the places to put that scene, why would you interrupt the final confrontation between the hero and the villain? It just feels very backwards. And yeah, it's just a shame to be ending the movie like that. And I think, just for me, I think a lot of the movie had a similar pattern to that. Like, a lot of stuff happened, but I didn't feel a lot of weight because of how fast stuff was moving. And also, like, there's a lot of scenes where characters just explain who they are. I mentioned it with Lex, but it happens with everyone, really. There's a scene where Lois is like, I told you I was bad at relationships. And it's like, from the context of the scene, we would know that. She doesn't have to tell us that. And later on, there's another bit where she's like, I don't want to sound like I'm just hating on Lois, because Rachel Brosnahan, like, great performance, great chemistry with David Cornsworth. I really enjoyed their scenes together, but this is all script. These are all script issues, not acting issues. So Lois is like, I'm just a city girl who likes, I'm a journalist, I go after the truth, and you're a farm boy, and you like everyone, and you're kind. She doesn't say it like that, but you get the idea. And earlier on in the film, this is the first time I noticed this thing that just keeps happening. Lex's assistants are on their keyboards because they're fighting Superman like it's a video game. They're controlling Bizarro. And one assistant, who should already know this if they're working there, is like, wow, Lex, you know so much about Superman. And then the person next to that assistant is like, yeah, Lex knows so much about Superman. Oh my god, Lex. And then Lex walks past, and he's like, I know everything about Superman. I have studied him for years. But again, the context of the scene, we would know that, because he's got this computer program going on, and Bizarro is fighting Superman very adequately. Like, Superman's on the ropes. Like, I don't understand why those lines are there unless the writer of the movie thinks I'm stupid. Am I stupid? Am I stupid, Mr. Gunn? Is that what you think of me? I'm trying to see how much battery life I got. Oh, 24%, 10 minutes. Alright. And I think that's one of the parts that annoyed me the most. It just felt like the movie thought I was a dumbass. And I get, sure, man, I'm dumb. Thing is, it is a kid's movie, and it's written like a kid's movie, but so is Across the Spider-Verse. And I feel like there's a lot more things character-wise to sink your teeth into in something like the Spider-Verse movies than there is Superman. But Superman is being touted as the best movie ever made currently, and there's a lot of hype around it, and I'm glad people are enjoying it, because like I said earlier, there is a lot to enjoy. But personally, I just thought it was okay. It's an okay movie. There's a lot of issues. There's a lot of things that just really piss me off personally, as a brown person, and as someone who just likes movies. Like I don't like a movie holding my hand all the time like that. That it, like soured me on most of the experience, especially with how awful the visuals were looking. I did consider filming this entire thing on my fisheye lens because of how much James Gunn loves that wide angle lens that ruins every single shot, but like, I want to look nice today, you know? I hope you got the guys think I look nice too. But yeah, it's just one of the ugliest looking movies I've ever seen. I'm hoping whatever comes next is better. But I think that's everything. I think that's all of my unfiltered thoughts on Superman. Last thing, I wish this Superman had his own theme song, because I am sick of every one of these superhero movies being a nostalgia fest. You can do more. You can do a lot more with these characters and with this material.